100 yen banknote. It's just a slip of paper, really.
Seems like it.
But think about it. All the hands it passes through, the things it sees. Today, we're plunging into a really fascinating short story by Osamu Dazai called Currency.
Yes, Dazai.
And what's amazing is, it's told from the perspective of the 100 yen bill itself.
Which gives such a unique viewpoint.
It really does. A surprisingly intimate glimpse into Japan during and right after World War II.
And our listeners shared a transcript of a reading of this story, Currency. What's so powerful, I think, is that it's not just about the era. It's like a first-person account from the money itself.
Exactly, like a ground-level view of these huge historical shifts.
A very unique perspective on social transformation.
So our mission for this deep dive is to pull out the most compelling moments from this banknotes journey.
Right, the encounters it has.
Yeah, what do those encounters tell us about, human nature under pressure, economic hardship, all those big societal changes in post-war Japan?
We want to give you, our listener, a vivid sense of this really original literary viewpoint.
Okay, so let's get into it. Where does this banknote story actually begin?
Well, it starts by introducing itself. A 100 yen bill, serial number 77851. It gives it an identity right away. And it tells us, in its youth, it was considered the queen of money.
The queen of money.
That says a lot, considering where things ended up. It really does. That initial status is key.
And its first transaction, that's quite something. It's giving to a young carpenter.
At a Tokyo bank, yes. And the story notes his hand actually trembled when he took it.
Wow. That detail really hits home, doesn't it? How much that money meant.
Absolutely. And the care he takes. Places it unfolded in his harigake, his apron, holds it protectively all the way home.
What does that tell us, that kind of almost reverence?
It suggests a time, maybe before the worst of the economic hardship hit, where money held a more stable, significant value. His actions, putting on the Shinto altar, praying
to it.
Yes. It speaks to this deep respect, almost a sacredness. A happy beginning, as the banknote sees it.
But, it's money. It doesn't stay put for long.
No, its time there is brief. An argument with his wife happens.
Yeah.
And the banknote gets folded, and notes this specifically, sort of sadly, and put in her small wallet.
That folding feels significant. More than just, changing hands.
I think so. It could symbolize the start of its devaluation. Not just literally, but maybe symbolically, too. Mirroring the growing economic anxieties.
And what happens next?
The very next morning, the wife takes it straight to a pawn shop.
Oh, wow. Quick turnaround.
Very. She exchanges it for 10 of her kimonos, which tells you a lot about the immediate need for cash people were facing.
That's a dramatic shift from a place of reverence on an altar
to a cold, damp pawn shop vault. Quite the contrast.
And from there,
it's exchanged again, this time for a medical student's microscope.
A microscope. Okay, that's different.
It sets the banknote off on a much longer journey. These early exchanges kind of show the flow of things, right? Carpenter's earnings, wife's need for cash, student's tool for learning.
Connecting different lives and needs.
Exactly. The microscope feels like an investment in the future, almost, which is quite different from where the banknote ends up later.
But this part of the journey with the student, it ends abruptly and sadly.
Yes, it does. The banknote mentions being discarded by the student at an inn on a small island in the Seto Inland Sea.
I left behind.
Seems so. And then there's this unsettling detail. Rumors among the maids at the inn.
What rumors?
That the student died by suicide shortly after leaving.
Oh, that's heavy. So the banknote is sort of a witness to this underlying tragedy.
It really underscores how even mundane objects get tangled up in these deep personal stories. The banknote just observes the hidden despair in society, even away from the main war devastation.
So after being left at the inn,
it just sits there for nearly a month in a drawer at the front desk. Then it starts traveling. 5 long years, wandering through Shikoku and Kyushu.
Yeah, years.
And it notes becoming remarkably old. Its value is dropping too, as higher denomination bills start showing up.
So it's aging, getting worn out, just as the economy is changing around it.
Precisely. The new bills reflect inflation, instability, the banknote's physical decline mirrors its falling value.
And eventually it makes its way back to Tokyo.
After 6 years, yes. But it barely recognizes the city, or itself, really. It's worn, changed.
And this return marks a new chapter, right? Post-war Tokyo.
A really significant turning point. It lands in the hands of a woman working on the black market.
Okay, the black market. That immediately puts it right in the middle of the post-war chaos. Can you just briefly explain its significance then?
Sure. After the war, there were severe shortages of everything, strict rationing. So the black market, the yamichi, became this, well, essential though illegal way for people to get food, clothes, basic necessities.
A survival mechanism.
Absolutely. But often desperate, with fluctuating prices and a real breakdown of old rules and norms, which the banknote sees firsthand.
And the story gives this description of Tokyo around 8 p.m.
It's incredibly vivid, dark, deserted, like walking through a deep forest, an ominous city of death. Not even a stray cat.
Chilling. It really shows the psychological scars, not just the physical ones.
Definitely. The trauma, the scarcity, and then amidst that quiet, the air raid sirens start up again. Bombings. The danger was still present.
And despite all this chaos, the banknote is constantly moving.
Constantly. Like a baton in a relay race, it says. Getting dirtier, more worn with every exchange.
It sounds exhausting, even for a piece of paper. And it reflects on the desperation of the time.
Yes, it observes how people seem to devour each other in the face of potential death.
Wow. That's a harsh image.
It is. Suggesting morality, compassion just got pushed aside by the sheer struggle to survive. The banknote laments this loss of empathy. People just focus on their own immediate needs.
It's a pretty bleak picture. But it does recall some faintly pleasant memories. There are moments of light.
Yes, thankfully. It's not all darkness. One memory involves being taken by a female black marketeer to a provincial city, a train ride away from Tokyo.
Okay. And what's notable about her?
Well, the banknote makes this interesting observation. It feels like the female black marketeers were often, maybe, more effective with money than the men.
More effective. How so?
Perhaps more resourceful, or driven by a more intense need to secure things. This particular woman, for instance, she haggles relentlessly for a single beer, but ends up getting 4 show of wine that's quite a lot.
Skillful negotiator.
Very. But even after this success, she shows no joy, just sighs about the state of the world.
That weariness again. Even in success, it's just about getting by.
Exactly. And from her, the banknote passes to an army captain.
Also involved in the black market, it seems.
Appears so. The exchange is for 100 Homar cigarettes. Although the banknote notes, there were actually only 86 in the pack.
Tells you something about the trust levels there.
Right. Corruption, maybe just carelessness. And this captain, well, his behavior isn't great.
What does he do?
He takes the banknote, shoves it in his pocket, and goes to this seedy restaurant outside town. He gets drunk, starts verbally abusing the serving woman.
Oh no.
Calling her a kitsune-esque, making these weird pronouncements about foxes, complaining about a baby crying downstairs, saying he's nervous.
Sounds like he's projecting quite a bit.
Absolutely. He blames women like her for Japan losing the war, calls her ignorant, self-serving. It's really unpleasant.
A deeply insecure, unpleasant man lashing out.
That's the picture painted. It highlights those lingering social tensions, the resentments, the unfair blaming after the war.
And right in the middle of this tirade,
An air raid siren goes off.
Yeah.
Then explosions lighting up the room. The immediate threat changes everything.
and the serving woman, the one he was just abusing.
Her reaction is incredible. She immediately runs to get her baby, then comes back and urges the captain to flee.
Even after how he treated her.
Yes. She physically helps him, supports his drunken staggering, helps him put on his shoes, leads him out towards a nearby shrine for safety.
That's remarkable. Truly selfless.
It really speaks volumes about compassion, doesn't it? Even when faced with cruelty. It sort of pushes back against that earlier idea of everyone just devouring each other.
Definitely.
Even at the shrine, he collapses, drunk, cursing the bombs. The shrine starts burning. And this woman, described as emaciated, working in the lowest of professions, she appears noble, radiant almost to the banknote. Still trying to save this guy.
So what does she do?
She drags him out of the burning shrine grounds into a harvested wheat field nearby, lays him down near a small embankment, then just collapses herself, exhausted.
And the captain.
He's out cold, snoring loudly apparently while the town burns around them through the night.
What a scene. The contrast is just stark.
Isn't it? And then comes the dawn.
What happens then?
The captain wakes up, sees the town still burning, sees the serving woman sleeping nearby. There's a pause.
A moment of realization.
Perhaps. Maybe shame. He stands up abruptly, walks a few steps away, then turns back.
Oh.
He reaches into his inner pocket, takes out 5 other 100-yen bills, the narrator's companions. Then he pulls our narrator banknote from his trousers.
All his money. Or close to it.
Seems like a significant amount, yes.
Yeah.
He folds all 6 bills together and then he carefully shoves them deep into the baby's clothing, right against its bare back.
Wow.
And then he just runs away, flees the scene.
That's unexpected. A flicker of conscience. Gratitude.
It feels like it, doesn't it? A moment of grace, maybe trying to repay her kindness in the only way he knows how.
And how does the banknote react to this?
For the banknote, this is profound. It finally feels a sense of purpose, of happiness. It wishes money could always be used like this to care for someone vulnerable.
Connecting the inanimate object to this very human need for protection.
Exactly. It notes the baby's dry and thin back, highlighting the poverty, making the gesture even more meaningful. It tells its companions, the other bills, there's no better place for them.
It wants to stay.
It wants to stay and help the baby thrive. And the other banknotes silently agree. A sense of shared purpose in this final act.
So, this deep dive into Dazai's currency, it's so much more than just tracking a piece of paper.
Oh, absolutely. It's this incredibly poignant snapshot of post-war Japan. You see the poverty, the black market, the way norms were just breaking down under pressure.
Yeah, the harsh realities are laid bare.
But, and this is crucial, woven through all that hardship, you get these unexpected, powerful moments of human kindness.
Like the serving woman and even the captain's final act.
Exactly, that enduring compassion, even in the face of terrible adversity. The banknote's perspective really forces you to think about the human stories wrapped up in everyday objects.
And the huge impact history has on just individual lives.
It really does. It makes you reconsider the world around you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
This humble 100 yen bill becomes this amazing narrator of the human condition.
So the final thought then. What other silent witnesses are all around us, every day, holding these untold stories of history, of struggle?
What could we learn if we could somehow see the world through their eyes?
It's a really fascinating idea to mull over.